So some days I just go to the store and I'm drawn to the clearance section and they have some nice looking boards that I say, huh, I can turn this into a segment bowl. So I just kind of buy them, not having any clue what I'm going to do with them, which is the direct result of this, which is Ghana cast. I have no idea if I'm saying that right. I'm almost positive I'm not, so if anything you should like this video just for that. But it's that and maple. And it actually worked out pretty good because I needed a 30 segment bowl in order to make a list for a layout. I don't use any fancy programs or anything. I just make rings, measure them, and take good notes, so next time I make a bowl with that many segments, I can kind of see how big my rings are going to be or what I need to make my cuts for. So this really kind of served as a template with just some random woods that I bought from Woodcraft. I mean, the bowl turned out great, but that was under the category of didn't really have a plan. But it worked out good because this bowl I actually have a plan for, and this is probably going to be one of the more elaborate patterns I've done. So I don't know if you can see the highlighter on there or not, but I've got 3 different types of wood here for this pattern. We're going to be using maple, cherry, and then some black walnut. Not exactly sure which part's going to be which yet, haven't figured that out, but this is going to be a 30 segment bowl, and in this one I'm also using 1/2 inch boards where normally I use 3/4, and that's so this bowl doesn't get super tall this way because I think I need about 13 rings in order to pull off this pattern I want. So I think we'll go ahead and we'll start running these down on the table saw and make some strips. so there's our first ring. The next 6 rings, I believe, are going to be pretty much the same as this, and then we'll start to change it up as the pattern does. But I'm going to spare everyone the whole cutting, gluing process, so when we come back we'll have hopefully 13 rings that are in the right pattern and we'll start to clamp them up. I just finished sanding down all these rings and wanted to take this time to kind of talk about the ring design and some of the patterns going on here. So there's 13 rings and there's 30 segments in each ring, so this bowl is going to have 390 segments and then the bottom piece. So rings 1 through 6 are all pretty much the same as far as the pattern goes. There's going to be 2 pieces of color and then 3 pieces of maple in each section, I guess you'd call it. So moving on to the next rings, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are all slightly different. This is where it starts to increase to 3 color and 2 maple per each section. The next one, same number, but the pattern changes up a little. And then we go back to pretty much the same pattern as the first ring with 3 color and 2 maple. Then we go back to pretty much what was the original rings 1 through 6. And then we just, from here, it's same amount of color versus maple, but we're going to start to bring the color in to where it tapers. On that one they're going to be touching. And then the very last ring, which will be the rim, we lose one of the colors in each section so it comes to a nice point. So I'm going to go ahead and get these all glued up. I'm going to take my time because this is, this biggest ring is, it's going to fit on the lathe, but I want to make sure it's not out of center. I want to get it centered as much as I possibly can so it's not hitting on any of the edges if it's out around a little. Should be okay, but I'm just going to take my time gluing it up and stacking the rings. So since this design is kind of complicated and it does matter which side goes up, once I got the bowl kind of stacked up the way I wanted it, I put an index mark on the bottom of each segment. So all I have to do is line those up and I know the pattern's good. I also went ahead and put an indexing mark on 4 sides of this. So basically when I put the next segment on, when I get the seams lined up on all 4 lines, I know that the next ring is going to be perfectly centered on top of this one. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with all 13 rings, and we'll start stacking it up and hopefully everything works out good. So we'll go ahead and tighten this down. And even if this moves a little, once I tighten it down, I'm going to go ahead and pull the top part off again. The glue kind of suctions everything down, so it's gonna stick a lot better once we get this cranked down. And then any little movement we need to do now, it's gonna stay a lot better the second time we tighten it. Alright, so we're still lined up. I'm gonna let this ring tack up for about 15 minutes and then I'm gonna just go ahead and keep stacking. So the flower petal bowl has dried for over 24 hours now, as far as all the rings in the bottom being glued up. You can kind of see the pattern. I think it's going to emerge a little more once we start turning it. There's like some burnt edges of some of the maple from the saw marks where it went through the mill. So I think once we start turning it and getting rid of that, we'll see some real results here. So I think when I turn it, I'm going to try it a little differently. Normally I will completely turn the outside and then do the inside. I think I'm going to go back and forth between the two and kind of rough it out on the outside, rough it out on the inside, and try and eliminate as much of the vibration I can as far as it being out of balance. So we'll give that a shot, but other than that it'll be pretty much like every other bowl. So we'll go ahead and get it thrown up on the lathe. Alright, so here it is, the flower petal bowl. Probably the most elaborate one I've made. Originally I was pretty worried that the cherry wasn't going to stand out. I wasn't sure how much wood I needed at the beginning of this, so I ordered a pack of whatever I said, however many the 3 different ones came. And halfway through I ended up needing more maple. So the second batch of maple was a little darker than I would have hoped, so I was pretty worried about the cherry not really standing out. It stands out better than I thought, but it's still a little hard to see. Other than that, I'm absolutely in love with this bowl and this pattern. I think this is probably the most work I've put into one, and I think it goes to show. Definitely going to be revisiting this pattern again. I've got some ideas, maybe some purple heart and some Paduke, maybe even a third color in there. Some other ideas with this pattern, thinking of maybe like filling this part up in here with the other color. Like, so many ideas. It's just so cool. Definitely gonna revisit this, but overall just so happy with this one.